Hey everyone, this is Josh and welcome back to JKW Woodworks. We apologize that we haven't made a video in a while. Due to the holidays, cold weather, and machines like our planer being down has caused some delay in our projects. First off, we want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The holidays are a great time to be with family and reflect on what is most important to you in your life. Hopefully everyone is doing well and has had a great couple of weeks. Today we have a full build project for you. This is a triangle table base with a round tabletop. We're excited to show you this, and we also have plans for this build available at our website at jkwwoodworks.com or also available on Etsy. We're trying a new style of video that hopefully you find interesting. I will be talking about the build throughout the video. Keep in mind that we had over 2.5 hours of video footage for this build. We obviously condensed it down with some editing and sped up the clips. We know your time is valuable and we appreciate you spending it with us. Let us know in the comments below if you like this style or if you prefer the other styles that we've done in the past. To give you some insight on how we got this idea, first, we spent some time at Home Depot and we found some laminated pine rounds that we thought looked interesting and they were fairly inexpensive. So we purchased a couple and in a couple different sizes, and we started thinking of ways that we could use them in our builds. We originally thought of building an oversized stool. We soon remembered a video that we saw a while back that was interesting with an interesting concept. We like to give credit where credit is deserved. We want to thank the WoW Workshop YouTube channel for giving us this idea. So big shout out to them, and make sure that you check out their video on triangle stools. We'll link the original video in the description below. After we watched that video, both my wife and myself thought, that's not a very comfortable stool. It's a very cool concept, but it just didn't seem very practical in houses. We came to the conclusion that we should add one of those round pine tops that we bought at Home Depot to the top, and maybe that would make it a more functional item that people would want in their house. After we built the base, we wanted to see if it worked with our small 16-inch round that we purchased, which it didn't. It was too small, so we decided to try our 24-inch round, which it worked perfectly with the base. So at that point we realized, well, a 24-inch round is going to be too big for a stool. So we changed it from a stool build to a table build. Now we want to remind you that we're not professional woodworkers. We have been mentored by professional woodworkers and spend a lot of our spare time watching other woodworkers on YouTube, seeing what they're doing, gaining valuable tips and tricks of the trade. This build is meant for DIYers who have some spare time and want to build something unique and practical for themselves or friends and family. It's very inexpensive, as you only use a couple 2x4s and a round that you can purchase at Home Depot. When it came to gluing the base together and clamping it together, it was a struggle. We watched the original video of the triangle stool build and seeing how he used his spare pieces, his spare cutoffs, to glue it together. We tried that. It didn't work too well. So if anybody's got any ideas or thoughts on that and how to fix it, please let us know in the comments below, because we're always learning and want to improve. We found it very helpful to put our pieces on top of each other and pre-lay them out before gluing them and assembling them. It just helped us get a better idea of what we need. If there's any cuts or anything that we had to fix, we could at that time. So it's just a helpful tip or trick. Pocket holes work great and they're an awesome tool to have in any shop. We drilled 4 pocket holes on each of our support arms. We had 1 on the outside of this support arm and 3 on the inside. And that worked out really well and was very strong and sturdy. And we'd recommend anybody using those pocket holes on that build. At this point, we just want you to sit back and relax and watch the build. If you have any comments or questions about portions, you can always mention them down below. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. We want to share with you a helpful tip that we've learned throughout our years of building and working with dimensional lumber, especially. Run it through the planer after it's been cut. That way you can get everything down to the same thickness. You can have squared corners instead of rounded corners. It makes a huge difference in the long run, especially towards the end when you're sanding. Having everything be the same and similar. Running your pieces through the planer is not essential nor necessary. However, it is something helpful that we've learned and through experience and watching others do it too. Let's talk about the legs of the table real quick. We cut our legs to 20 inches because we really didn't know what we wanted to use the table for. There are some standard sizes in the industry, like coffee tables are typically around 16 inches in length. Nightstands can be 20, 24 depending on the bed height. So it really depends on what you want this build for. Keep in mind when determining the length and height of the table, you need to also include the base or the tabletop and that's thickness, because that will add an extra inch, 2 inches, inch and a half, depending on the thickness of the table. So if, for example, if you want a coffee table that is 16 inches to the top, you need to cut your legs maybe 14 to 14 and a half inches long. That way you can give an extra inch, inch and a half of space for the tabletop. At this point, we want to give you guys an idea and tip. Something that we thought of hindsight. Of course, hindsight's always 20/20. But we would cut all our pieces first, sand them, stain them, pre-drill them, do all the work that we need to, and then assemble them towards the end. The reason being is the sanding process and the staining process was very difficult after the base was assembled. There's a lot of nooks and crannies that are very difficult to reach. So if you can stain and sand and do all the work prior to assembling it, it'd be better and easier on you and save you a lot of hassle in the long run. Keep in mind this is a completely experimental build. We didn't have any plans or cuts to follow. We just guesstimated on what we needed and took it from there. So if you're going to change this build and make it bigger or smaller, we recommend that you make the cuts, you kind of lay them out prior to screwing them or gluing them in. That way you can figure out if you need to change any miters, angles, or any lengths prior to building it. Really quickly, as we're getting into the sanding process, we started with 80, went to 120, 180, and then 220. And we didn't want to spend so much time showing you the sanding process because it took us about 15 minutes on each pass. So we just kind of quickly showed you that we did 80 grit, 120 grit, 180 grit, and then we showed you how to trim a little bit, and then we showed you the entire sanding process for the 220. That way you can have an idea of how we did it, especially with the sanding blocks and the orbital sander. Something that we would highly recommend are the sanding blocks that we purchased at Home Depot. They were fairly inexpensive, and we used them before in the past, but they were necessary for this build. Since we assembled our piece prior to sanding, there was a lot of spots that the orbital sander could not reach, and getting rid of the extra spillover and glue and making sure that everything's flat and smooth and hiding the pocket holes and filling the gaps, sanding was necessary. And so these sanding blocks worked well. With a little bit of elbow grease, they got everything off that we needed and made everything look great. When it came to sanding the tabletop, we decided to water pop in between each grits. This is because we wanted a smoother surface for the tabletop. The base wasn't necessarily that vital to water pop because you're not going to be touching the base, where the tabletop you're going to be touching more often. Staying with the theme of experimental, we wanted to try a new wood finish since we couldn't find any shellac in the stores. This wood finish that we tried worked well, left a good look. We were able to finish in a couple coats and it was very easy to apply. However, because it was too cold, I didn't open the garage, and this wood finish has a very, very strong odor that lingers, and I mean for days. So just an FYI, if you're going to use this wood finish, make sure it's in warmer climates where you can air out your space. Quick side note, we broke a lot of drill bits during this build. We normally use the cheap and inexpensive bits because they're cheap and inexpensive, right? However, we decided to invest in some more expensive bits. They're the countersinking ones, and you can see that we used those when we attached the tabletop to the base at the end of the project. These are highly worth it. We recommend it. They were very easy to use. They did a fantastic job. After the thing was all said and done and built, I decided to replace it with one of my end tables that I made out of epoxy in the living room. Hopefully the wife likes it, and there you go. Looks great.
Hey everyone, we just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. We truly appreciate it. We're a newer channel, so we'd also appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button. That way we can help spread this content around to everyone. Since we're new, we got a lot more videos to come, including a plethora of different projects. This ranges from wooden American flags to cutting boards, epoxy pours, and tables. So if you want to find out more about us, you can always check out our website at jkwwoodworks.com. We appreciate your time. Until the next video, thanks.